Jane McCall and the Twilight Stacks. Chapter 18. The Deal. Jane left the Stacks shortly after that exchange, leaving the journal resting on the seat of the armchair. She had two reasons. The first was that something being stolen from the Stacks was the cause of this mess in the first place. Taking more could only make things worse. The second was more personal. Having a way to talk to the Stacks would be a temptation, and it was one she wasn't sure she'd be able to resist. The Stacks couldn't afford to waste any more energy talking to her, but it would push itself if she asked. Better to nip that risk in the bud. She half expected the girl to be gone by the time she exited the Stacks. If not, she expected her to bombard Jane with questions as soon as she came out. What she didn't expect was for the girl to not only have stayed, but to have been joined by someone else. At a glance, Jane could tell that the girl and the new boy were siblings. They had the same coloration and height, and the way they were up in each other's faces would only have been acceptable for relatives or romantic partners. They were standing right in front of the entrance to the Stacks. Jane would have to push past them to get out. Getting any closer to that argument was the last thing she wanted to do. She stayed still, knowing movement would draw their attention to her. "You've got to let this go," the girl protested. "I know what I'm doing." "I'm not convinced you do. What are you hoping to accomplish? You can barely remember the place." "A girl went in less than 20 minutes ago. I don't know how she did it, but she managed it. If she can, I can too." "Who is this mystery girl?" "Cail, you've been coming here every day for weeks and haven't made any progress. You're obsessed. Like you weren't as bad with the Courtyard." She poked him in the chest with enough force to make him sway backwards. He stood his ground. "We figured out the Courtyard's rules. It lets us come back. This place is trying to keep you out." The boy's gestures grew more emphatic until an arm went flying at Jane's face. She ducked to avoid a black eye, finally drawing their focus. More accurately, the girl's focus. The boy's face wrinkled in confusion. He followed the girl's line of sight, but clearly couldn't see Jane. "Interesting." "You're back," the girl said. She didn't manage to get all the way to relief, but she softened before letting her disapproval show. "You're a mess." Jane looked down at herself and winced. Whoever claimed that black clothes didn't get dirty was a filthy liar. Gray dust clung to her leggings from the knee down, and the rest of her clothes were rumpled. Her hands were equally bad as her shins, and her spell-casting hand was still reddened by the after-effect of the Stacks' blast. Jane then remembered her mascara. The waterworks from earlier had probably done her makeup no favors. All told, she was a poor sight. "Sorry," she said. She did her best to dust her hands off on her jacket. All she succeeded in doing was leaving streaks on it. "Who's a mess?" asked the boy. "Cail, are you having a psychotic break?" She ignored him. "Don't apologize, and come out of there," the girl ordered. Now that she had gotten herself together, she had an authoritative manner. Jane wasn't sure whether she liked it, but she preferred it to the panic from earlier. She complied with the girl's order and felt the hidden door close behind her. Now that she was out in the open, she felt the urge to shrink into herself. She forced herself to push her shoulders down and back. "Who's this?" she asked, waving at the boy. He stared slack-jawed. Her appearance must have broken a circuit in his brain. Jane felt the urge to shake him until the loose connection snapped back into place. Cail didn't seem concerned. "Lucas, my twin." His sister's voice snapped him out of his stupor. He shook his head and smiled. "It's Luke. Call me Lucas and we can't be friends," he said in a peppy tone. He stuck his hand out for a handshake. "What's your name? And where'd you come from?" Jane watched him for any signs of malice. All she saw was genuine friendliness. It was quite the change from the agitation from a few minutes prior. Maybe he'd put on a persona because she was a stranger. She took his hand and shook it. "I'm Jane. Did you not see me walk out of the Stacks?" "Nope. You appeared out of nowhere. Neat trick. Was it magic?" She could feel her brain locking up in the face of his cheer. Why was he acting as if this was normal? Yes. "Way to go, Jane. This is why you have no friends. 0 out of 10. Never mind. Is it true what you said about finding another place like the Stacks? You called it the Courtyard, right? Mutual interests. That was good, right?" Stars all but appeared in his eyes. She tried to take her hand back, but Luke's grip was strong. As far as she could tell, he'd simply forgotten to end the handshake. "You believe me?" "I just stepped out of a dying pocket dimension which inflicted targeted amnesia on me in preemptive self-defense. My ability to believe in anything is at an all-time high." Yeah, that makes sense." He finally let go of her hand. "Are you like Cail?" "How so?" "You remembered the place and wanted to find it again." "Yes." The half-lie came automatically. Jane wasn't about to tell strangers about her spellcasting, not when the last person who'd known might have stabbed her about it. I remembered the stacks. My memories are older, is all. Cool. Want to come see the courtyard? Luke! Cail hissed. You cannot invite some weird stranger to visit our school! The twins stared each other down, and Cail grabbed her brother by the arm. Excuse us for a moment, she told Jane. The smile on her face promised pain for someone. Jane hoped it wasn't her. Cail yanked Luke down the aisle and pulled on his arm until their heads practically collided. A storm of muttering came from their corner, though the volume was too low for Jane to understand. She was half tempted to cast a spell to boost her hearing, but decided against it. If she were honest with herself, she could admit that she didn't have the power. Her stunts in the adult section and the stacks had been costly. She distracted herself by moving her arm closer to and farther away from the latch hiding the stacks. The tingling had receded to a point where she had to focus to feel it, but it still grew stronger with proximity. An inbuilt way detection system. Had the stacks forcing the connection through been the reason why her migraine auras had been so bad? If it was reaching out and her magic was breaking through at the same time, it was no wonder she'd been such a miserable wreck for the past month. The conference between the twins came to an end, and they walked back up to Jane. We're willing to offer you a deal, Cail said, arms crossed. Her scowl made her opinion about the compromise clear. I'm listening, Jane said. Tell us everything you know about the stacks. How to get in, your history with it, its brand of weirdness, everything. You do that, and Cail and I will bring you to the courtyard. Deal? Luke stuck out his hand, a friendly smile still on his face. Jane debated her choices for a moment. They were telling the truth, she didn't doubt that, but she wasn't sure she had the time. If the courtyard wasn't able to help her, she'd have to rely on her own magic, and she'd lose hours or days the stacks didn't have. The element that tipped her over the edge had little to do with any of that. She'd always wanted to find a place like the stacks, and she didn't count the cave. If the courtyard could tell her more about witches and ways, the risk was worth it. She took Luke's hand and shook it. Deal. Queries, kudos, or concerns? Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.